Hello and welcome to DMs with PM for another Tuesday. This is our fourth episode in season 4. I am your host, Oslin Crosby. I want to welcome all our listeners on Power FM, Star FM, We FM, GBN, Fusion FM, Vibes FM, those following us on GIS, Facebook and our YouTube channel. Welcome to you always. It is a pleasure to be here with you and also you being here with us, because without you we don't have a program. It is going to be another dynamic and interactive session, and our featured guest is back this week. Last week we featured the Agriculture Minister. This week Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell is back in studio. Prime Minister, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back, and pleasant evening to all of our viewers, listeners, wherever you are.
Always a pleasure. It was quite a weekend, a long weekend with St. Tides. We had the Whitsuntides games. We saw the products. I think we could see the benefits of the upgrade to the stadium. Our athletes from the region came back after Carifta, and I think we're seeing so much happening with them with the games and the improvement in their performances.
I think Grenada is becoming a mecca for track and field, both in terms of our talent, both in terms of the infrastructure that we have, and so we're happy that we are able to host another Whitsuntide Games, and I think it augurs well for the future continued development of track and field in Grenada.
Yes, it does. Following the games, I think our little ones are becoming inspired, and they are moving. A little one from South St. George, I could not forget her. She just stood out. She stood out, and others.
No, certainly. I think the truth is, if you look at the talent in Grenada, it's about investing in the talent. It may be track and field, but we could also pick, for example, the creative economy, and you're seeing particularly in music, the quality of music that has been produced, the phenomenal success that's taking place regionally. So it's different ends of the same strand, which is basically our talent, our human potential, and making sure that we can invest in that, both in terms of infrastructure, in terms of training, financial support, incentives, encouragement, media attention, regional attention. And I think it's paying off. And of course, in track and field, we have some national heroes that our young people can look up to. So they also play a vital role in motivating a lot of our youngsters.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we should be grateful. Along with that, it was also African Liberation Day. It was Liberation Day yesterday. Celebrations in St. Andrew. The snippets, historic, different. Speak to us about that one.
Well, sure. First, I want to start, as I did yesterday, by acknowledging the Rastafarian community for the role that they have played in keeping African Liberation Day alive as an occasion to celebrate and to mark. And I think it's important for us to make sure that as we go forward, we continue to support the observance of the day and to teach about its origins, its history, and its significance for us as an independent, predominantly Afro-descendant nation. So the liberation of Africa from colonial rule, the liberation of the Caribbean from colonial rule go hand in hand, and you don't have one without the other. In fact, many Caribbean intellectuals and historical figures like Marcus Mosiah Garvey were the inspiration for the commencement of the decolonization movement in Ghana. And when you start with Ghana, you see the importance of Marcus Mosiah Garvey to the liberation movement in Ghana. And then when you look at the Caribbean, obviously Guyana, for example, celebrated its 60th anniversary of independence from colonial rule yesterday. So when you look at Guyana, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, the larger territories, they were the pioneers. Grenada followed soon thereafter. So it's a significant moment, but as we look forward, we now have to reconnect with the African continent, not just because of historical or cultural ties, but Africa, without doubt, is going to become, as a continent, a powerhouse economic force in the next several years, and it's fast on its way to becoming that. Yes, it has a lot of challenges, but in terms of potential, mineral wealth, resources, land mass, and critically the youthfulness of its population, the dynamism that the world needs is going to come from Africa. So it's important for us as its diaspora to make sure that we begin to move past, as I said, the speeches and the ceremonies, but we have the cultural exchanges, we foster economic cooperation, we foster trade. In excess of 220 Nigerians principally visited us, right? They would have had to charter a Boeing 777 to get here. It's still parked at the airport, right? So we are talking here significant economic boost in terms of tourism. They're staying at Silver Sands and Spice Inn and Royalton and Radisson. That is business that these hotels otherwise would not have had. We've had significant transportation, taxi, logistics to move them, food. We're hosting a cocktail for them tonight at Pier 57. So again, that's business for the local community. So just from a tourism perspective, it's a large market, Nigerians in particular, estimated population 300 million, almost rivaling the United States in terms of population size. Nigerians are known for traveling. It's a very wealthy country. So there's enormous, just on a tourism perspective, opportunities for us to grow the African, Middle Eastern market, and that's part of what we believe a trip like this has the potential to do.
It does. It does. When you explain it like that, then it changes the entire dynamic of what's happening, the economic benefits, but most of the cultural part. I think we are seeing a shift now as to how our people are. We seem to want to reconnect with our past. Just the way we look, our outfits, going back to the hair, the natural hair, and so there is that connection. I think encouraging it augurs well for us.
No, absolutely. You have to be yourself. You know, the truth is, the human beings are diverse. We have different ethnicities, different races. We have to embrace all of our humanity. And for us whose descendants were colonized, and where your cultural identity was part of, the wiping out of your cultural identity was part of that colonization process, it's important as free men and women that we make deliberate choices about learning about our history, our past, and together forging a different path. But that has to come from a place of confidence. It has to come from a place of valuing your own culture, your own identity, your own self, your own music, your own food, your own fashion, clothing, hairstyle, etc. And when you do so, then naturally the world itself would also value and respect that. And then it gives you an equal place from which you then interact with other cultures, other races, etc. So I think both in terms of Africa and in terms of the Caribbean, you know, we have examples, and the Rastafarian movement is a perfect example of that. They've largely been responsible for a lot of the cultural identity of the Caribbean, reggae music. For example, when you talk about things like ITEL, the movement to decriminalize marijuana, we can go on and on. If you take Africa now and its own embrace of its own music and the impact that that is having Afrobeats on the world, or embracing of its own food, you know, its own fashion, its own culture, it too is having an impact on the world. So I think we have to understand culture is, in a sense, as Marcus Garvey said, you know, the highest form of our own civilization. And so if you don't embrace your own culture, then you have nothing to contribute to the world and to the diversity of the world. So I was very happy that we got an opportunity to see a lot of the traditional dance, drum, music, singing, and the amazing fashion Africans that the Nigerians bring into the fashion world.
Yes, yes, yes. I definitely agree. And we cannot forget, last week you were not here with us, but we know that you were out on diaspora engagement, recognizing Grenadians who from the diaspora contribute to home, or what they do makes a difference for us here. Speak to us about that engagement.
So yes, it was both a diaspora engagement, but also an engagement with the United States government. So we spent 2 days in New York. The New York engagements related first to attending the graduation ceremony of St. George's University. Over 1,500 students were graduating. They had 4 graduation ceremonies of 350 students each. So it's a mammoth undertaking, but naturally for each individual graduate, obviously one filled with immense joy and pride. And at the first ceremony which I attended, Dr. Doland Noel, a renowned Grenadian doctor, was given the Service Award by St. George's University for his exemplary work in the field of medicine and the contribution and growth he's made to St. George's University as well. So I was very happy to be there on stage with Chancellor Modica to present that award to Dr. Noel, and so I want to take the opportunity again to congratulate him for the amazing work he's done. He's really a fine example of a Grenadian medical professional that we need to value and cherish and use as an example for others to look up to. He himself has overcome significant personal ill health as well, and has continued to work and do excellent work. So that was the first part. The second part of the engagement was attending the Spice Excellence Awards. I want to take the opportunity to recognize Jason and Abiola Jeremiah. They are Grenadians living in the diaspora who came up with the idea and asked for my support in recognizing 12 outstanding Grenadians, not just in the diaspora, because Hollis Mr. Killer Map was part of the awardees, and he's largely based in Grenada, although his work takes him outside of Grenada. Across medicine, entertainment, culture, fashion, you know, the awardees were all really exemplary persons, from Dr. Nicholas Brathwaite, who's now Chancellor of one of the universities in Canada. So it really was, for me, an awe-inspiring event, and you saw the emotions from the awardees in being recognized and being appreciated for the enormous and amazing work that they've done. And then the third event in the evening was a bit of a fundraiser, but also an opportunity for cultural exchange and to have a lot of our local acts perform, from Mr. Killer, Sakina, etc., Terror, the governor. So it was an amazing evening that went very well. The following day, we visited Mount Sinai. As you're aware, that's our collaboration partner for the Project Polaris. So we got an opportunity to tour some of the hospitals, to see the hospitals in operation, to see some of the newer facilities that they have, to look at how that will potentially help design and guide our own hospitals. So it was an amazing event. That's just New York. I could then go on to Washington if you permit me.
Yes. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Please.
So Washington, we had several high-level engagements with cabinet ministers in the White House, starting with the Deputy Secretary of State, Secretary Londo. We spoke extensively about the bilateral relations between the U.S. and Grenada and how we can deepen that, particularly in the field of trade, commerce, energy. And that's, I think, one of the clear signals coming out of the U.S. government, that it appreciates that perhaps for the last several decades, sufficient attention was not paid towards encouraging U.S. investment, whether it be through U.S. agencies or through the private sector in the Caribbean, and specifically in our case in Grenada. So a lot of the discussions focused on how we can encourage that. We were able to share with them some of our priority areas like healthcare, like Project Polaris, energy, oil and gas, major upgrades to our infrastructure, because our airport, ports, roads all need a significant overhaul to make them more suited for the next 25 to 50 years of the country's development. We also met with the Secretary of Commerce and engaged in a similar conversation. We also met with officials from the Department of Energy, Ambassador Nazim Book, who we've now designated as an ambassador for energy, who heads our oil and gas technical working group, also attended the meeting, and particularly for our exchanges with the Department of Energy. He would have had an opportunity to brief them on what is happening with us in oil and gas, but also to talk about some of our wider energy projects like geothermal, like the solar opportunities we are also pursuing. And then we had discussions with officials from the national security agencies, again to talk about broader cooperation and security, peace and stability for the region. So all in all, I would say a very successful, high-level, intense engagements for 2 days. I should round up by saying we also met with members of the private sector, because we are obviously trying to encourage private sector investment. We met with the CEO and president of Tropical Shipping. They are a major partner for shipping here in the region, to talk through some of the challenges and what we need to do to enhance our connectivity and logistical capacity of our ports and so on. So it was intense, but quite successful, and it's for us now to do the work in terms of the follow-ups that are required coming out of those engagements.
Great. Thank you so much, Prime Minister. That one was a lot. I wanted you to share, because I think it's important that people know what some of these interactions would be, because there will be many more benefits from them.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be hearing some of your DMs.
I'm Randall Dolan, Chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority, and it's my honor to invite you to the first ever Grenada Diaspora Homecoming 2026, happening June 21st to July 5th. Grenada is known for its spices and its beauty, but our most important and valuable asset is our human resources, our people. Now we're calling all Grenadians from all over the world, wherever you may reside, to come home. Come home to Grenada, come back to the soil. Let's re-engage, reconnect, and ultimately, let's collectively build a pathway to Vision 75. During that 2-week period, we'll be celebrating everything that makes us Grenadian, our true Grenadian identity, from food, culture, music, entertainment, films, and we're calling all artists, all creators, all investors, all of those who are interested in networking to come home for this wonderful time, go back to the communities. We'll be creating a lot of opportunities to also give back. Ultimately, we are building a pathway for a bigger and brighter future. Our socials from Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube are also live, and you can get more information about programming from all of these networks. We look forward to welcoming you to Grenada. We look forward to celebrating homecoming with you this year, and we look forward to celebrating everything Grenadian.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we were just chit-chatting. Prime Minister giving us an update on some of his recent engagements, the one in the U.S., and I think we missed, as the public would have indicated, the town hall. I think we all knew what happened there because that one was live. It was very memorable, Prime Minister, it was. We were following here, but I don't think we need to get into it because I know that we all saw it. We were all following from Grenada. So it's time for us to take in your DMs now, the questions that you sent us. Our first question, Access Road. Can some attention be granted to residents of Green Valley Drive, Mount Kuma, with regards to the deplorable condition of the access road in that community? When it rains, access can be extremely difficult or sometimes impossible. The access is extremely dangerous and have even led to injury while trying to get in or out. Please, any assistance that can be granted will be appreciated. A comment from an unknown person. Prime Minister?
All right. Well, I wish the person would have identified themselves. It would make it easier for us to follow up with them. But I'll take a note of this and we will see what can be done to help improve the road conditions in Mount Kuma.
Thank you, Prime Minister. On to our next question. Electoral. Will your party be increasing the number of female senators or MPs in the next parliament? A question there from Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for the question. We certainly will try to do so. I think obviously we recognize the importance of having gender balance and in particular female MPs and female senators, but that is also partly in the hands of the electorate because obviously certainly as an MP you have to be elected. Senators are chosen, but certainly for MPs they have to be elected. So we certainly will do everything we can to ensure that as much as possible there are sufficient representation of females in our lineup.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think we appreciate the representation.
Yes.
All right, on to our next question, the fire department. Is there any update on the transition to the RGPA for firefighters who are on a month-to-month contract since 2022 at the Grenada Airports Authority? And are there any further updates on investments in the fire department? We are currently without a utility vehicle at the airport. Another anonymous contributor.
Yes, well, thank you for the contributions. I can't speak to the state of readiness of the fire department at the Airports Authority. I would specifically have to get a briefing from the Airports Authority. And similarly, as it relates to the state of the firefighters and whether they're still on a month-to-month contract, it is something I would have to get a briefing on from the Airports Authority. So I will certainly take those two as issues that we can follow up perhaps next Monday with a response.
Okay, great. Thank you, Prime Minister. What we are going to do, we are going to go straight into DMs from the street with Norris.
Welcome back to another amazing edition of DMs with PM. We are in the streets of Grenville today, and in our location right now, we are in the Nutmeg Pool in Grenville. Come with me as we get the DMs from the streets, from the people that matter.
Yes, greetings. Highly high. According to the Prime Minister yesterday, you know what I mean? In the African Liberation Day. Right now, I from the Rastafari community would like to big up the Prime Minister on African Liberation Day celebration. That was a good initiative taken by the government of Grenada and especially the Prime Minister of Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique. The celebration was grand, and we'd like to big up our brethren and sisters from Nigeria and from the motherland. You know what I mean? Give thanks for the energy. Right now, I know people have a lot of things to say, but go, Mr. Dickon, go. Don't give up. Work for Grenada, Carriacou, and Peter Martinique. Here they are. From ever since I was a youth, you know, when I was a young man in my prime, I could remember the revolutionary government of Grenada bringing Kenneth Kaunda, you know, in African Celebration Day. And from this time to that time now, the Prime Minister of Grenada, following the same pattern, give thanks, Prime Minister Dickon, give thanks, and we pray that next year, the celebration will be more grand.
Prime Minister?
Right. Thanks, no question there, but I certainly appreciate the comments of the Rastafarian brethren. I think the fact that he's also talked about the historical link between Africa and the Caribbean and the need to make sure that we continue to ensure that we observe memorable occasions when we have public holidays is important. So it's just not a holiday for resting, but I think something of significance. So I'm just happy and that I have the opportunity to be able to encourage the observation and the celebration of African Liberation Day, and to have had the opportunity to be able to connect with our brothers and sisters in Nigeria in particular, who supported this initiative and who funded their trip to Grenada at their cost. So it's important for us to appreciate that they paid for the flight, they're paying for the hotels, and so they are really making a significant contribution, as I said, not just to the cultural support, but also to the economic, particular tourism underpinnings of Grenada.
Yes, yes. And we must highlight his connection, the historic connection from since the days of the revolutionary government and now this the involvement of the African community in the celebrations. Yes. So thank you for your contribution. We're now taking another question from the street.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Norris Francois. Welcome to DMs on the Streets, man.
Yes, man.
All right, what's your name?
My name is Shem Judge, also known as Super.
Yes.
You know, a new racing community.
All right.
Right?
Well, ask the Prime Minister a question.
Yes. Morning, Mr. PM. My name is Shem Judge, also known as Super. I normally race on the Paul's airstrip, and normally we have to finish drags on them early than normal. And you know, when you're in racing and the thing get nice, you don't want to finish. In terms of lighting, what can you do for us to enhance the sports, also the visibility of the racers? You know, the bike men, you know, some of them, they have to finish a little bit earlier because of the lights. In terms of lighting, what can you do for us in terms of the lighting to help assist with the racing and the airport? And it's a sport that can bring in a lot of revenue for the country. And I would like to see you there also.
Thank you for the question, Prime Minister.
Sure, thank you, Super, and I guess Super means he's probably super fast. So thank you for the question, but it's, you know, joking aside, I certainly think we have to look at how we utilize the airstrip. If from a policy point of view, we accept that this is the only available track for racing, then I think obviously the necessary investments will have to be made, I think, in collaboration with the groups that are currently using it for racing. So I think it does require a sit-down conversation with the, in a sense, Motor Racing Association of Grenada, and the Ministry of Youth Sports, perhaps tourism as well, to see how we can develop a proper plan that actually allows us to invest in the facility, provide lighting, provide necessary amenities, ensure that it is safe, and that gives us an opportunity to enhance the sport. As he said, I know there are many, many racing enthusiasts on the island. Racing in general is a phenomenal sport, very high energy, very adrenaline driven, but also very lucrative globally. So it is something that I think we certainly have an opportunity to look at. And if we agree that this is the best use of the existing Pearls Airstrip, then obviously I think formalize that into policy and bring it formally under the Ministry of Youth Sports, Tourism, so we can enhance the track. So I certainly think it is something that is, from my perspective, that we can work on, work with the various associations that currently engage in the drag racing and so on to see how we can enhance the facility.
Right. Great. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, Super, for your question. Another question from Norris?
I'm Alex Alexander, also known as Alex473. I'm a musician. I'm from Conference St. Andrews. And my question for the PM, Mr. PM, I want to ask, you know, I've recently seen that there is a music school built in St. David's. I mean, it's for the parish and I'm out of the parish. So I want to know, like, as a musician as myself, if it's possible that I can get access to the facility to use its equipments to do my work and also help others who need help.
Thank you, Alex. Mr.
Yes, Alex473, I like the name. No, the music school is built in St. David, but there is no precondition that says you have to be from St. David to have access to it. It's open to the public, and while it is in St. David, we obviously want to encourage as many persons to learn music and to have access to musical instruments, to have access to tutors. And so we certainly would welcome our brothers and sisters from other parishes or other constituencies to come in and see what's available and to offer, whether it's themselves to be trained or to, if you have the capacity to train others, to train others. So it's not limited to people from St. David's only.
Right. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Alex, for your question. Another question from the street?
I'm like Jez from Lafayette in St. Andrews. As a farmer, I want to ask my dear Prime Minister, how long you take for us to get a license? Because I want to plant the marijuana, the weed. Right? So I want to find out how long we'll get a license and how long it will take to get a license to plant that marijuana.
Well, that's a very direct question. I don't have a direct answer specifically now because we are still working through. So we're doing this in phases. The phase one was to decriminalize, and we've done so. The second phase is now to actually work on the commercial aspect of the policy and the legislation to facilitate this. That consultation has started. I will certainly ask the Ministry of Agriculture to provide a further update to the public as to where we are and the potential timelines that we're looking on. I don't want to give imprecise timelines, but I certainly would say that I too am quite keen to make sure that the commercialization part of it can happen as quickly as we can, so that, for example, to your point, the ability to get a license to be able to grow commercially becomes something that is materialized in the not too distant future. So I will certainly ask the Ministry of Agriculture and the Cannabis Secretariat to provide some updates on that specific timeline point.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, sir, for your question. Another question from the streets?
Hi, so my name is Aaron Noel, and I would just like to commend the Prime Minister for doing such a great job with the assistance in Hurricane Beryl, you know, with the building, helping those that were damaged by the hurricane. I was also one that was, our house got damaged, and right now it is well built back, better. So I must say that was a very great thing that the Prime Minister is doing and continue to do. So yes, I must say that that's a wonderful program he has brought up for those that are affected by the hurricane.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Noel, for the observation and the commendation. I want to thank the Cabinet Ministers, the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation in particular, and Minister Williams, because the Cabinet agreed to allow MIT to lead on the Build Back Better in response to the emergency housing situation that Hurricane Beryl created. And so obviously without the Cabinet support, without the MIT support, without the support of the team from the Ministry of Finance, in making sure that we could respond quickly and effectively to this, this would not have been possible. So the credit is not really for me, but I think for the team, the wider team, and obviously for the public for being patient, for understanding. But I just want to also emphasize to Mr. Noel and others, you know, there are things we now need to take to mitigate the risk that we face from hurricanes. Doing things like insuring our houses, for example, is a good way to ensure that we can, the investment that the government has made and the taxpayers have made in helping you rebuild your home. A simple sacrifice like having your home insured, not just for hurricanes, but for fire, flooding, etc., is one way of mitigating against potential loss. And that's an example of something we can all do to make sure that we protect the investment that has been made in our homes. Ensuring, for example, that it's hurricane straps and so on are erected, and making sure that from time to time they're maintained and you pay attention to them. That's another example of something that we can do. So I hope for those who benefited from the Build Back Better, that they show the appreciation and the care for the properties that have been entrusted to them on behalf of the taxpayers of the country.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for your question. We have another question from the street.
I am Donna Joseph. I don't really have a question. I have more like commendation and to give the government, the NDC government, all the praise. I like how they are tackling the roadwork problems by fixing it. And let me commend the construction company, Reno. All you doing a good job alongside our Prime Minister and the cabinet of the NDC. Way to go, man. I like that. Big up yourself, PM Dickon Mitchell.
Well, thank
Prime
you.
Minister.
The most I can do is smile and laugh for the commendation. Yes, we know the roads have been a challenge, and I think we've explained that we've had some capacity issues on the island. We've begun to address that. We have a number of companies that have come in. We have Reno, Calco, and Namalco, amongst others, to help address the challenges we face. We've ourselves invested, for example, by buying the pothole patcher, and now that we have more capacity on island to be able to do things like produce the asphalt that is needed, we certainly expect that things will be ramped up. I think by way of general information, we are pushing to hopefully commence work from the Morris Bishop International Airport all the way to Westall Point on the eastern main road. We're also looking to do from the intersection of the Old Westall Eastern Main Road Junction all the way back to the St. Paul's Police Station. We're also looking to do from the junction that is Decall Junction, once the pipe laying is complete, to go all the way back to the Bolio area, up to the Mount Kumar Road, to that intersection. Work is currently ongoing on the Willis Road, which had been paused as part of what was then the Farm Roads project, which we inherited and which honestly did not go very well in many instances. So Renault is doing this. We currently also working on the Mabuya section of the road that had collapsed for, I think, the better part of 30 years, which has forced pedestrians and vehicle users on the Western Main Road in particular to have to go through Mount Nesbitt, Mount Granby, and then come back down to Douglaston. That has been a major inconvenience for decades. We are going to solve this. The work has commenced. So there's a lot of work going on. The Vincent's Penmutter Road widening has, for at least 3.5 miles of road, has taken place. New culverts has been built. The road has been milled, and new asphalt is being laid. We are really seeking to raise the standard of road maintenance, road repair in Grenada, so that we get better value for money. But it's a lot of work, and as I'm sure we are aware, in St. Patrick, for example, a lot of the bridges we are working on doing it. So we face the challenge of sea incursions and erosions, particularly in the northern part of the island. That is in Mount Rodney and these places. That is something we're working on. We have the Sutter's Breakwater project to also treat with. We have areas in Soubise and Marquis to treat with, in Levera, where the sea has eroded. So it's a constant battle. Nature isn't resting, and so we can't rest also. But I think we're just happy that we have more capacity on island. The final thing I'll mention is the quarry in Telescope. We are partnering, Gravel and Concrete is partnering with a firm that should allow for quarry operations to begin in the third quarter, hopefully, of this year. And we think that also would allow us to have significant more capacity to treat with the aggregates and so on that we need to do our road repairs and maintenance.
Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you for the question. Now, our final question from the street.
My name is Bernard Maras. One question for the Prime Minister. Will he win the next election?
That's it?
That's it. If he doesn't win, I'm going back to America.
All right, Prime Minister, I think that one is that is direct.
Well, I think he should answer the question. Yes, if you vote for me, I will win. So if you want to remain in Grenada, then certainly I'll ask you to put your X in the appropriate place next to the hat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister. To all our contributors today, all the people who would have sent in their questions from the street with Norris, thank you so much. Norris, you brought back so many memories sitting in the pool there in front of that tray. My mother, I remember my mother working in the pool as a little girl, you go in there. So yeah, Norris, I appreciate that, that introductory shot there. It really brought back some good memories. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will be opening up the lines to get your calls.
The Ministry of Agriculture White Potato Production Initiative is an OECS sub-regional project aimed at reducing Grenada's reliance on imported white potatoes, which in 2025 had an imported value of over 4.5 million EC dollars. The White Potato Production Initiative is part of the Ministry of Agriculture's food security drive and is being undertaken with the simultaneous cultivation of other crops such as sweet potatoes, pineapples, coconuts, carrots, and other vegetables. Other OECS countries like Dominica and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are already at an advanced stage in white potato production, with Dominica completely cutting the import of white potatoes during the first quarter of 2026. Grenada is now preparing to advance production for better output in 2027. The Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, ensuring food and nutrition security for all.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. It is past the halfway mark. We did share with you from the streets the DMs that you sent us. Now it's time for us to take in your calls. Remember the number 423-3104. You have an opportunity to ask the PM your question yourself. So please remember to call 423-3104. Prime Minister, a lot happening. A lot is happening there are a lot still in the pipeline, and from all indication, the pipe is not blocked.
No. There's a lot of water flowing.
There is a lot of water flowing.
Yes.
Government is focusing on a lot being self-sustainable. In that of we see that with that of the aggregates, the road projects, even that of the maintenance plan, and I think that is something that we must always remember. We do have a call online, so let us take in our call before we get to that question. Caller, good evening. Thank you so much for participating. Please share your question.
Hi, good evening. Good night, Mr. Prime Minister. Or Ms. Crosby, good night.
Good evening.
I am not an island, but I just want to have a bit of input. I don't want to be too long. I just want to say something that bothers me as the daughter of a fisherman. I'm from Victoria. My issue is this: we have two entities on an island that buys fish from our fishermen. That's in Grand Mall. And my thing is, gas prices gone up. Fishermen don't really have that much thing, right? They go through what they go through. I am glad that for a long time that this government take a bit of look after fishermen and farmers. I give kudos for that. But I know you're not the Minister of Fisheries, but I just want to just say this. When the guys from St. Mark's and St. John's go to Grand Mall to sell the fish, the catch, they often met with things like, oh, your fish didn't pass, even though they do everything. Fish temperatures are different, obviously, we know that. But the way that they will tell them, okay, I'm going to give you $3 or $4 for a pound of fish, I just think it's a bit selfish. And I am really hoping, I saw that the government said that they're having an initiative to have some fishing thing whether they will buy the fish from the fishermen. I really wish that can happen, but I think these two entities exploit our fishermen and they show no empathy for them, because you tell them get ice, get beans, get this, that. They have to get a transport to transport the fish to Grand Mall. Then they get there, they say to them, oh, you didn't meet the grade, and they have to go back all the way. And it's sad. And it's sad that the way they treat them. And they will say to them, and then even if you say the fish and pass, you want to give them like $3 or $4, not even a reasonable price for their fish. I don't know if you can give a little bit incentive. I know it's not a government thing, but I'm just giving a little bit of input in the sense that maybe you and your government could come up with something that you could help alleviate the fishermen from that stress with these two people in Grand Mall. Thank you and have a pleasant night.
Thank you, caller. Prime Minister.
Well, thank you. I think for now I can only note the comments. I don't feel I am in an authoritative place to speak on the comments. It will require me to hear from the fishermen. It will require me to hear from the operators of the facilities and then to understand what the specific issues are. I will say that merely catching and exporting fish in and of itself is a very primary economic activity because you're exporting raw materials. Yeah. And the question of how we process more of our fish is something that I think preoccupies me and the Minister of Fisheries, and I think it is something that, as part of the whole question of food safety, food security, but also getting a greater value for some of the products like the fishing industry, products from the fishing industry, it is something we need to look at. But I'm not in a position to comment on what she said, other than to say we can perhaps look at it and have discussions with the impacted persons.
Okay. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, caller. We have another call online. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling. Please share your question.
Good evening to the host and to Mr. Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister. My question is, what are your plans for the old hospital? Now that the new one is going to be built, are you thinking of probably turning that into an outpatient hospital or maybe a hospital for sick kids, like a children's hospital? Have you guys thought about what you're going to be doing with the old one? Yes. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Well, thank you for the question. I can answer it partly. It will not be used as a hospital or an outpatient. The new hospital in Hopeville is meant to replace this hospital in its entirety and to become the general hospital going forward. So that much I can answer. As to what will become the functional use of the property, I can't answer this at this stage. I certainly would say it will feature in what we believe would be a project for the greater revitalization of the entire town of St. George. It's a significant real estate investment. And I think certainly from a tourism enhancement of the Tongue of St. George, something more aligned with the overall development of the Tongue of St. George, is part and parcel of what we can look at. But there is no definitive answer to that at this stage, but it will not be kept as a hospital or an outpatient services. I should point out that there will be specialist services particularly focusing on women, maternity and children at the General Hospital. So that's one of the areas where the services will be provided.
Right. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, caller. We have another caller line. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling. Good evening, caller. Please share your question. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling. Please share your question. I do believe we seem to have a challenge because we are hardly hearing. Good evening, caller.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, good night. How are you?
Good evening, sir. I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay for the time. I just want to ask you concerning the lights at the stadium. I want to ask you if we make the standard, and could you give us an idea like when ICC will be coming to approve us, so then we could get some night game?
Yes, we have made the standard. We don't need the ICC to approve us any further. We would have actually had the specifications from them and would have designed in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, in collaboration with Cricket West Indies, the necessary specifications to make sure that the lights meet the international standards set by the ICC. We have not formally commissioned the handing over of the lights. There was one particular bulb, I think that there was an issue with it. So that has been repaired, and once that is completed, then I expect there will be a formal handing over and we get an opportunity to see the lights in full action. I could even go further to say we had some of our local cricketers like Andre Fletcher actually come down to the stadium and do a lot of practice and test playing under the lights to also give his confirmation and to work with the light technicians to make sure that the aiming, the spotting, any issues were resolved, and I think he gave his thumbs up as well. I mean, Andre plays a lot of international cricket on the lights, particularly T20, all over the world, so I think he perhaps has the best pair of eyes in terms of telling us it's a go. We've gotten that from him. So hopefully that can be commissioned shortly. There will be a formal handing over and turning on of the lights, and then we can have some night games. So again, it's more evidence that lots of things are happening. A lot of what was once promised is now being delivered by us.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, caller. We have another caller line. Good evening, caller. Thank you for calling.
Good evening, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good evening, sir.
It was nice to meet you in the diaspora, and thanks for my 2 pictures.
Thank you.
Mr. Prime Minister, my question, this morning on GBN, caller asked a question concerning we in the diaspora. We intend to come home to vote and to register also, and then come back to vote. But now we heard from Mr. Garway this morning that it's going to be illegal. We have to be at a certain time in the country. We are Grenadians, so we want to know that what is the problem, or maybe you could explain the procedure that once you're a Grenadian, you have your Grenadian passport, you have your birth paper, you have the right to vote. So I'm with your answer. And Mr. Prime Minister, we got to do it in the diaspora again, man. It was great.
All right, thank you. Well, I think the electoral laws are clear on the requirement for voting. I didn't hear what Mr. Garway said or didn't say, so I'm not in a position to opine on it. I think there obviously is a residency requirement on the law. I think the question has been traditionally whether this has actually been enforced, and how do you enforce it, and how do you have proof that someone is resident or not. Obviously, to vote in Grenada, you need to come physically, be present, and to cast your ballot. That's the only type of voting that the law allows. So since I don't know what the comment or the issues were raised, I don't feel it would be fair for me to respond to something I've not heard. But certainly for the purpose of voting in Grenada, you need to be present and be able to vote, and obviously present your ID if called upon by the officer attending on the day of the polls.
Okay, thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you, caller, for your question. We have another caller online. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening to you both. The host, sorry, I didn't get the name, and the Prime Minister. My name is Giselle, and I'm a member of the Grenada Youth Against Sexual and Gender-Based Violence. And I'm calling in this evening to basically get a response from the Prime Minister in regards to the proposal and petition that we sent like 2 months ago. As of now, we have not heard anything.
Yes.
And I just wanted to know basically what was going on with that, because there has been an increase in the number of like sexual violence cases. And we just want to know why there hasn't been a response, if there's something stopping you from responding to us. And I would also like to know what is your strategy as the minister of National Security in terms of addressing gender-based violence and sexual violence, considering how current it is right now. And it should be classified as one of our top national concerns. So we just want to know what's going on with that. I hope you both have a wonderful evening, and I hope to hear a response from the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, caller. Prime Minister.
Sure. Yes, sure. So thank you. First, let me say, yes, the petition was received. I have not responded to the petition specifically. And in fact, I even saw a social media post from one of the petitioners who queried the non-response from me as Prime Minister. So I want to state that we have to have a comprehensive approach to gender-based violence. And to a large extent, the Ministry of Social and Community Development has been leading this. And I want to be able to explain the tools that the government has at its disposal to be able to address this, but also to emphasize that the question of gender-based violence is not a government issue. The government can do something. So we can start from a policy perspective. And there's been extensive policy revisions on this. Partly we inherited under the Spotlight Initiative, which was essentially a program in collaboration with the UN and the government of Grenada to look at what are the things we need to do to begin to address gender-based violence in a more systematic, wholesale, policy, legislative manner, right? And a lot of the bills are designed around that, and there's probably as much as 15 to 16 amendments to various pieces of legislation to try and address this, some of which have been controversial, including issues such as giving persons under 18 access to doctors and nurses for sexual and other related healthcare services, and that has stirred a lot of debate and controversy, so to speak. So that's the first part. I think within the Ministry of Social and Community Development, significant work is being done by Minister Thomas and the team to push a lot of the policy priority initiatives that we address, from issues of sensitizing the police and how the police responds, from issues of giving protection to victims. Many people don't know that, but the state houses large tens and tens of women and children who are the victims of gender-based violence. We oftentimes remove them from the circumstance they're in and house them and so on. We have obviously sought to ensure that from the perspective of the police and the reaction and understanding that there's ongoing training, that people take those responses seriously. But we also have to recognize that by the time the gender-based violence occurs, it obviously means it's happening, and then from the tools that the police have, the tools that the judicial system have, is essentially the criminal law. Now, as part of this gender-based reform, issues such as a family court and the establishment of a family court has been one of the issues that has been debated and talked about, and it's part of what has been potentially proposed. But it's important for us to appreciate that the gender-based violence, and the violence in particular, stems from oftentimes socioeconomic conditions, conditions concerning parenting, concerning moral values, and concerns pertaining to the acceptance of violence as a normal behavior to a lot of what we envisage in the community. So I have, in a sense, delayed my response because I think primarily I don't wish to usurp the work that has been done by the Ministry of Social and Community Affairs, Gender Affairs, in relation to this issue. So there is what I would call the hidden gender-based violence, a lot of which is domestic abuse, and you've seen there's been changes to the domestic abuse legislation, and there is the more explicit, overt criminal gender-based or violence, where, for example, we had the two very obviously sensational and terrible killings of two young women. And I think obviously that has spurred a lot of the emotions that we feel. And you've seen, for example, there's been sensitivities, marches, candlelight vigils, and so on. But beneath that is a need for sustained education and socializing of our men and boys in particular. Now, the gender-based violence, from my perspective, is a symptom of part of the bigger issue of violence amongst men. Because at the end of the day, men prey on men more than they prey on women. right? There's more violence being meted out by men against men. And that is part of the underlying challenge that we have in the society, where violent behavior is still accepted and normalized as a reaction or a response to something. So this is a very complicated issue that isn't going to be solved by a single government action, right? It is actually something that is going to require all of the society, from church leaders, spiritual leaders, or education system, or national security system, or parenting system, crucially, and the way in which we are socialized. So I think it's important for me to say, and obviously to the group of young people in particular who presented the petition, I mean no disrespect. And this is a very important issue for us in Grenada. I think we definitely, statistics show that we have serious challenges with this issue. But it's not an issue that is going to be solved by sensationalism or merely by petitions that demand the government does this or the government does this. Because remember, it's not the government that is engaging in gender-based violence. It is the citizens of the country, right? And the government's tools to shape the behavior of the citizens of the country often relate to public policy, law. Those are the two. But the government is not a parent, right? I can't parent other people's children for them, right? I can certainly, from a leadership and advocacy point of view, talk about what we need to do in terms of what I think are the right values that we should be teaching our children and so on. But the parent in the home has to teach that, right? And remember, this government has gone so far as to have parenting classes. The Ministry of Social and Community Development runs parenting classes where we encourage parents who struggle with parenting to actually come and learn how to be a parent. So that is the extent to which the government is involved in people's private lives. We can have a debate as to whether the government should be involved in doing something like this. So yes, without a doubt, it's a serious issue. One that certainly attracts our attention and is a priority, but we also have to be practical that this is going to take a learning curve of changing the underlying social behaviors that creates a situation where men in particular think it is normal to react in a violent manner to issues that they face, and specifically to prey on women or children. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I certainly want to assure the young persons who've done that petition, and I think in that sense it may be better for me to have Minister Thomas and our team perhaps even come on the show where we can dedicate one of these shows to Minister and the team so that he can talk about all of the several initiatives that the ministry is doing. But I will repeat, the government alone is just one partner in what needs to be a multifaceted approach to addressing this gender-based violence issue.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, there to our caller. We're going to take in now our final caller. Please, we ask that you make the question as concise as possible. We are almost out of time. We want to give you an opportunity to share. Good evening, caller. Thank you so much for calling.
Well, good evening. It would be short.
Good evening, sir.
I'm calling in relation to the prior caller who had asked the Prime Minister about the people from the diaspora coming down for the election. And what Mr. Gary said this morning, he said that we have to be 1 year in the country. But if I could recall, I think it was the Director of Elections?
Supervisor of Elections.
Supervisor of Elections said it was for people from the Commonwealth would have to live in Grenada for 1 year. But those of us who are Grenadians, because I'm calling from Toronto, and planning to come, once we have the address or birth paper or passport, and we are registered, we are eligible to vote. Because when I saw that this morning on GBN, it shook me a little bit because they said this could either be a scare tactic or some form of delay tactic to have people change their minds. Because I know as national born Grenadians, we are entitled to come and vote there, whether we live there for 12 months or not. But he was saying we have to be 12 months in Grenada in order to vote. So, Mr. PM, that's all I want you to clear up so that we in the diaspora would not have no question about that. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Prime Minister.
Yes, but again, I still don't want to go on what the caller said as to what Mr. Gary said. I would simply say, if it's Mr. Gary, the former politician, then you can perhaps take what is said with a grain of salt. My response would be, if you are registered to vote, then you have an opportunity to exercise your franchise. That's pure and simple. If you're not registered to vote, then I would encourage you to get registered to vote. So wherever you are as a Grenadian, if you are in Grenada and there's an opportunity for you to get registered to vote, you should do so. And once you're registered to vote, then you'll have the ability to exercise your franchise once the elections are called.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Finally, somebody sent a message asking, I think the person lives in Mount Morris. They want to know when they will be getting the parties, the NDC's parties, representative for that constituency.
Oh, well, I saw a rumor saying I was going to be the representative. So, you know, I think St. George Northwest deserves good representation. You know, my last name is Mitchell, so it would be nice for there to be an improved Mitchell representing St. George Northwest. So I would simply say to the Montmoritzian, I like using that word Montmoritzian because, you know, Montmoritz is a unique community.
Yes.
Hold tight, we would have the representative in due course.
In due course.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Prime Minister. The question to all the people, we have had so many calls today and we cannot accommodate all of it because we are out of time. We do apologize. But please do call again. Thanks. Next program, next Tuesday, when the program will be on again, to share your questions, or you can send them via DM. Remember, you can use the various platforms. You can use the WhatsApp number. You can send it via Facebook. You can also send it via YouTube, or you put it at the bottom of the program, and we will be sure to capture it and share it in our next program. But to all the people who has called, sent in their DMs from the streets, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I think Prime Minister would have gotten quite a nice variety today. It was as colorful as African Liberation Day yesterday, Prime Minister. Your closing words.
Yes, well, let me close on two issues. First, to remind particularly Grenadians about the Diaspora Homecoming, which starts on the 21st of June. And then coincidentally, on the 21st of June also, we will be celebrating our 4th anniversary in office. The party will hold its General Council, followed by a mega rally at the Monrouge playing field from 5 p.m. So we want to encourage everyone who voted for, who support, and who now support the National Democratic Congress and the government to come out celebrate 4 years of progress. You know, we have all contributed to this, not just the government, but importantly the citizens of this country. So we look forward to sharing with you, to reflecting, to celebrating, to praying as we chart the course for the next 5 to 6 years. So we want to encourage everyone to come down to the Monrouge playing field. And as they say, yellow is the code.
Yellow is the code. All right, Prime Minister, thank you so much for another very, very informative program. As I said, quite a cross-section we had today. We got some roads, we got some culture, we got everything today. We got fishing, we got everything, agriculture. And to all our callers, the people who sent in their questions, thank you. We do appreciate your contribution. You have made this program another successful one. To the technical team, always, thank you, Shem and the team. Always a pleasure. To all our listeners, Power FM, Star FM, We FM, GBN, Fusion FM, Vibes FM, those following us on GIS, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. It is always a pleasure to be here with you. We say thank you for always being here with us. I am your host, saying so long. We see you again next week, Tuesday, when we do this all over again, DMs with PM.